started. Thanks for joining us on About Alberta Tech. About Alberta Tech is focused on introducing Alberta tech companies to Albertans. Our goal is to share the innovation and diversity that exists in this province. My name is Lenora Thomas, and today I'm joined by Carrie Gore, CEO and co-founder at PwrSwitch. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation and for having me.
So let's start with some background on you. How did you get into tech?
Well, if we were on Bugs Bunny, we would say I took a left at Albuquerque. I was really trying to solve my own problems. So I've worked my whole life in film and television or the cultural industries. I was and am creative. I'm not a techie, but necessity is the mother of invention and entrepreneurship. And so a number of years ago, I left a relationship with our then twin 3-year-olds. And that separation turned into years of what I now know was a prototypical high conflict separation. Multiple lawyers involved, therapists, self-representation in court. One defining characteristic of this kind of separation is that there tends to be a high volume of electronic communications, texts, emails, chat apps, phone calls, like upwards of 50 a day kind of high volume every day for months.
Oh my.
And yeah, and often years, especially if there are children involved. And in all of these cases, your counsel, whether that's therapeutic or legal, is telling you that you must document every communication in order to both protect yourself and backstop a defense. So you obviously want to capture evidence of criminal behavior if that exists. So that would be criminal harassment or threats or extortion. But you also want to capture in an ongoing way to capture context and to prove patterns of behavior over time. So getting everything becomes important.
Yeah.
So getting a screenshot of a death threat, for example, is often not helpful or taken seriously unless you have all of the communication for like the weeks that preceded that to show an escalation over time, say, or to prove a pattern of coercive behavior or any number of issues. Anyway, so the status quo then, as today, is, in terms of capturing this evidence, is to take a screenshot. Well, when you're talking about sort of the volumes of communications that are coming, it's, I would argue, impossible to keep up with documenting that well. And so in my case, I just could not keep up, notwithstanding the single parenting and the working and everything else that was happening concurrently, and the emotional kind of chaos of sort of the separation. And I accidentally deleted months worth of text messages and trying to extract them. There were numerous problems that not only sort of caused me to have poor outcomes, but negative results ultimately. And so, and that was where I could draw a direct line between that and my inability to document well. And so that led me to ask, what would make a difference for me? And I thought, what if all of this collection was automated? And so then I validated that with both on the legal side, because there are many problems with this kind of way of capturing and using evidence for lawyers or mediators. And then there's multiple problems for individuals, which I just sort of outlined, and validated that, yes, it was a serious problem, a problem we're solving, and a problem that people would pay to have fixed. And then I very audaciously, as a creative person, co-founded a tech company with a lifelong friend, Beth Thompson, who not only had complementary skills to me in finance and project management, but who also happened to have had this very same experience with a high conflict separation a decade earlier.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you guys came together and decided to build this out. How did you get started?
Initially, in terms of the validation piece, what's now known as Platform here in Calgary, offered a class on how to validate a business proposition, because I really didn't know where to start, and went through that. And then immediately, based on some of the work that I did there, got accepted into a business accelerator for social enterprise. And that really kind of set us on our journey.
That's amazing. And so with PwrSwitch, how does it work? How does it take all of that information and make it available?
So very practically, what it does is it automates what people do manually and badly today. So it will collect all text, email, and phone log history between two people, years worth, if necessary, and it saves it all in a secure time and date stamped word searchable document on the cloud. And then we also concurrently we collect source code or raw data if you need to prove the source of those communications, and we can generate a mirrored report of those communications if you require it. So for individuals, PwrSwitch offers a sense of security. It saves time. If legal counsel is involved, we know that it can save upwards of $10,000. But most of all, it really offers peace of mind, knowing that everything is not only captured and secure, but then you don't have to engage with it either. Now, on the legal counsel side, for them, for the first time, pardon me, ever, they have mobile evidence that's collected over time that's objective and comprehensive, because that's not how we tend to collect these things. And also, for the first time, they have the ability to search, highlight, and redact all from one place. So yeah, it just helps them deliver a more client-directed service, and with excellent evidence, they get more winning or favorable results. Yeah, and in fact, we heard a story last week from a lawyer who is using it with their clients, and they were scheduled for a court date that, and this was pre-COVID, that when opposing counsel got this year's worth of communications, the penny dropped and they just opted to mediate out of court. So that's excellent for clients, it's excellent for counsel, it's excellent for taxpayers. Right? Yeah, it's good.
That's fantastic. And so you're from Alberta, so that's probably why you got started here?
Yeah. So both Beth and I live here, and we love Alberta, although it can be a frustrating place, particularly these days as a tech entrepreneur. And certainly the ecosystem with respect to early stage investment is still, I would argue, in its infancy. So that can be very challenging. It is challenging. On the other hand, given that our lives, all of our lives, will continue to be lived ever more on mobile devices, I think it's also been an advantage to be here in Alberta, because we're really flying below the radar, because we think we have a very big idea that has use cases in multiple areas. So the fact that we are here has maybe bought us some time to figure out the very complicated tech of our platform.
That's helpful. Definitely helpful. And so based on that, what are you growing towards with PwrSwitch?
So a couple of things. So I would say the name itself comes from the feeling of powerlessness that people feel being on the receiving end of a boatload of electronic communications that they're obligated to document and can't keep up with. So we wanted to switch the power dynamic by making that evidence effortless for them to collect and then effortless for their counsel to use. So one of the goals then that we're working towards is to really become the leading client-directed mobile e-discovery tool in the world across legal practice areas. So right now our focus is on family, but we would expect that we could excel in insurance, workplace, probate litigation, civil, criminal, just about anywhere that you require a dispute resolution tool like this, because it's objective and comprehensive. It really, I like to refer to it as the central source of truth. It completely does away with he said, she said.
And you really can't argue if it is in black and white right in front of you.
That's right, that's right. And a big part of our purpose overall is really just to accelerate access to justice and get better outcomes for everyone as a result of having what we expect is the best mobile evidence to support both investigations and claims.
That makes total sense. And so what else do you think our community should know about you and about PwrSwitch?
Right now, in response to COVID, you should know that PwrSwitch is free to download and use. Yeah, and we made that choice because conflict tends to increase in times of stress, like a global pandemic.
Mildly stressful.
Yeah, right? So, so yes, it's free. So we're early stage. So the tech itself is just a year old, but our tech support is outstanding. We will and have sit on the phone with people or screen share or whatever people need to get this working for them. So we really, if I have an ask, we really want people to try it and give us feedback on how it works and how they're using it. Right now, as I mentioned, we're kind of focused on co-parenting and family conflicts, particularly over COVID. We're seeing a high use of it to renegotiate parenting orders and that sort of thing. Having said that, on Friday, we had a fellow from Texas use it to resolve issues on his family's estate, on his mother's estate. So that was a really, super interesting use case. He was very enthusiastic and excited. That's perfect. We are also currently working to get into the app stores. So you won't find us there yet, but it's coming. And what else? We're always open for investment.
Which is perfect.
Right, we continue to build, because we would like to build out functionality. Right now we collect text, email, and phone logs. We've heard from customers that the next maybe important piece is to collect WhatsApp and maybe Facebook Messenger. And yeah, just fortify the technology overall and grow. So yeah.
That's fantastic. That is such a cool way to start something from your own experience and then be able to grow it to where you have it today. That's really wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. Well, and we know the difference that it can make, both on the counsel side. I mean, we've had lawyers say it's been a game changer for the way they practice, which is an amazing endorsement. And then for individuals, have heard that just the sense of security that they have, knowing that there is 3 years worth of communications, for example, all in one place that's easily accessed. That makes
and they don't have to worry about those screenshots.
Correct. No more screenshots.
I can't imagine the sense of relief of not having to go through, like 50 text messages would take a while. And if you hadn't done anything before that, that would just speed everything up.
So we've done a lot. We've dug into this a fair bit. And initially, as part of our validation, we surveyed about 300 people who were inside this problem. And what we found, to your point, is that people were spending on average about 5 hours a week just collecting and consolidating all of their communications. So not only giving 5 hours back a week, but having to engage with all of that material all the time. And if you aren't doing it, then and you have counsel engaged, then their paralegal, for example, usually, or an assistant, you're paying them to organize that for you. So
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, it is crazy when you just think about this comparatively small piece, which is just the organization of your mobile evidence. It really not only becomes critical to how you position and argue a case, but then financially. And if you're self-representing, it's also a massive deal because you want to present evidence in a way that's easily consumable by judges.
Yeah, and judges are not going to want to go through that many screenshots.
Well, they don't. That's what they do today.
Exactly.
It's and it's you can't search them because it's essentially a stack of photos. Right?
Yeah, that makes it way more difficult. Well, I really love what you're doing. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Lenora. It was great, and I really appreciate the opportunity.